Hey everybody, Prince's friend here. I'm gonna keep moving this mic around. I'm trying to get it into just the right positioning so that I can get the best sound that I can out of it. So far, I think this is good. I don't want it to block my shirt too much, but it's okay. But honestly, after I did my video that was why did Rosie Gaines leave the MPG, I had a bunch of requests asking me to do a couple of other videos for some other famous Prince alumni and trying to talk about why they also ended up leaving. Today's video is about Dez Dickerson. And why did Dez Dickerson leave what was the blossoming Prince in the Revolution at the time? But before we begin, we release new videos every week. Make sure you subscribe to Prince's Friend, and we hope you enjoy your experience. Now, I feel like first we kind of need to establish who Dez Dickerson was. So Dez Dickerson was a musician, primarily a guitarist, and that's the position that he played with Prince. He was the lead guitarist. But I've actually learned from a lot of my research that a lot of kids who grew up in that era were all kind of self-made musicians, and they all wanted the fame and the fortune and women and the money and all that stuff. They all wanted that. Listen to some interviews with Dez Dickerson, and from what he has said, that was actually his driving goal. His driving goal was money and fame. He translated money and fame into what happiness would become.
I had pinned all my hopes on this thing. When you're, 15 years old and looking for something to hang your hat on, it seems so real. And I thought that that's the key. That's the key to being happy in life.
So he was picked up by Prince in 1979. He auditioned and he got the part, and it ended up being Prince and Dez and Andre were kind of the front men at the stage. Gail was in the back, and you had Bobby on the drums and Dr. Fink on the synths. So it was a really good kind of mishmash of just fun times and a really awesome touring band. If you've seen some of the videos of Dez performing with Prince, they are really good, and that dude can shred on a guitar. So he was the lead guitarist of Prince's touring band, and while he never ended up really contributing a ton to the albums, he was with them through a long time, from 1979 through 1983. So he was with Prince and the Revolution, the Blossoming Revolution, I'll keep calling them, for a while, actually. He was an amazing performer live. Finally, on 1999, the album, they gave him co-lead vocals on the song 1999. We all know him as the guy who sings the second verse in each of the verses. Lisa and Jill, and then Dez, and then Prince, and that's the order of the singers. But he also ended up playing the guitar solos and doing some backing vocals on Little Red Corvette, that track. So he was definitely not an inconsequential member of the group. But what we found out from, again, interviews is that he started getting disillusioned with the amount of sexual material that Prince was putting out there, and also just the fact that Prince was doing a lot of things in order to shock people, and some of it had no other value. It was just to shock people, which, that's cool. Like, it is what it is. But it started to not sit right with him. According to Dez, when he was touring with Prince, they would just sometimes throw on the 700 Club and just watch it. And apparently, it was through the 700 Club that Dez decided that he wanted to leave the Blossoming Revolution and strike out on his own. And I think that that's actually the cool thing, right? Because Prince has had other people, think that he wasn't doing stuff right. We also famously have Vanity, who left to become a born-again Christian, and then she just left everything music behind. But there are a lot of musicians out there who find, Jesus and then want to continue making music. It doesn't mean it has to be the end of everything that you do. Like a few examples would be like Dan Spitz from Anthrax. He just stopped wanting to do that type of music. There was Head from Korn, who didn't stop doing music. He didn't even stop doing the type of music that he was doing, but instead of singing about depression and drugs and all of that stuff, he started singing about Jesus and God, but it was still super hard, and it was still super hard rock. And honestly, most famously, there's Alice Cooper. And Alice Cooper, of course, being somebody who is well known for his anti-Christian ideas in his songs and being controversial, kind of like Marilyn Manson before there was a Marilyn Manson. He's born again, of course, now, and he sings about Jesus now, and he's still awesome. He's still Alice Cooper. So you don't have to stop being who you're being to change your belief structure. And I think that Dez is actually a really good example of this as well, because when he left, he didn't leave music. He didn't even leave his friends. He didn't even leave Prince. He was still in the circles. He never really left. He collaborated on the Vanity 6 project and helped them with their songs. A lot of us know Dez Dickerson also from Purple Rain, where he did the Modenaire song, which became a big hit in the movie, and then everybody was like, where the hell is the song? It's not on the soundtrack. We can't get it anywhere. They ended up releasing it as like a single because he had a band called the Modenaires, but then that didn't really happen. But then he ended up releasing it again, part of a retrospective, and then eventually he started making his own Christian music, and that led to him becoming the vice president of A&R Records. And then a few years after that, he ended up founding his own label, which was called Absolute Records. And funny enough, Absolute Records doesn't actually sell itself as just a Christian label or anything, but they do have some acts on there that are recognizably Christian, and some others that you're like, huh? So like Absolute actually works with Alice Cooper, also works with Def Leppard, which was kind of interesting, and also Baby Metal. If you've never heard Baby Metal, they're pretty great. But that's the thing about Dez. He literally left the band because of the material that they were working on, and it just wasn't syncing up with his idea of what happiness was supposed to be. He realized that if that wasn't going to make him happy, he had to go out and do something else. And I applaud him for making that brave stance to leave. A lot of people would have just stuck around and not left, but he struck out on his own, and he ended up becoming successful for it. But paths split, and he went his way and Prince went his own. I read an interview that said he found out about Prince's death the same way that the rest of us did. They did a Google search and they found out that he had died. So like no one called him or anything like that until the Revolution ended up calling him for him to come back and do some of those charity shows. And I think it's really awesome, and it's commendable that he was somebody who left but didn't scoff at his past. He didn't say that is terrible stuff. He just said, look, it's not jiving with me. I think it's still great. I'm going to keep going on and doing my own thing, and I think it's good. So that is why Dez Dickerson left the Revolution, and I wish him lots of success in the future. So what did you guys think of this video? Please let me know. And I don't know, should I keep doing these? Let me know that too. Otherwise, as always, may you live to see the dawn. Honey, don't you know I will slap the waves out your head if you do not subscribe?